Welcome to a video that I've been excited to make for a very long time now. I started reading Stephen King when I was 13 years old. It was a long time ago. I had no idea where to start, and YouTube was kind of the place that I turned to see which books to start out with. I ended up diving in with one of Stephen King's biggest books, and that was It. Keep in mind with this list that you can start wherever you want with Stephen King. Stephen King is such a versatile author. He's done so many different genres through the years and through his career that you can start with any book you want from him that interests you. Watch the video, of course, but also consider just looking through his different premises for his books, his different genres that he's dabbled in, and just picking one that sounds really interesting to you. In this list, I'm going to give you 5 books that I think would make great starting points depending on what you're looking for Stephen King. So I'm going to try to appease to many different personalities in this video.
So stick around and we're going to educate some folks.
The first book that I want to start this list off with is Misery. Misery is a book that has been talked about a lot. There's a movie adaptation that I believe Rob Reiner did. It's a great movie adaptation, but the book is so much better. The book centers around an author, Paul Sheldon, if I recall right. He's a famous romance novelist. He finishes his newest book, the last book that he intends for his famous romance series. He gets in a car accident when he's on his way with the manuscript for this passion project of his, and somebody saves his life, which is really great when you really think about it, until you realize that the person who saved his life is a psychotic super fan of his named Annie Wilkes, who kidnaps him, isolates him from the rest of the world, and puts him through the title,
Misery.
The book's great. Misery deals with some very intense stuff. Annie Wilkes is a crazy person.
She's cuckoo.
She makes a wonderful villain, a very interesting character to peel the layers back on. The book is very intense. It's a perfect book to check out if you're looking for a thriller. If you're looking to hop into Stephen King based on chronology, if you want his oldest book or his most recent book, go with Carrie, his first book, or The Institute, his newest book. Now, I'm not going to go too much into these because this is the weirdest way to jump into Stephen King, but it's interesting. Carrie is about a high school girl who's dealing with psychokinetic powers, basically. It's great. It deals with a lot of themes of acceptance and trying to come of age in a time where people are not very accepting. And also it deals with religion and a lot of really interesting themes. Carrie is a great debut novel from Stephen King. Now, if you want to see how far Stephen King has come from his first novel, you could then go and check out The Institute. The Institute is his newest book. I talked about it a little bit in my October TBR. I really liked this book. It's about telekinetic kids. So it's actually kind of interesting how things come full circle. But if you want more information on The Institute, check out my October TBR, and I kind of go a little bit more into my thoughts on the book there. Another kind of subsection of Stephen King that you can jump into, you could go the route that I went. I can think of no better way to jump into Stephen King than 3 of his massive books, okay? So the first one, obviously, the one that I started with is It. It is about a group of kids, the Losers Club, who at the age of 10 years old encounter a cosmic being that shapeshifts into children's fears and feeds on the local children. The book is pretty creepy. It's really interesting to dig through this town's history, and the kids are just awesome characters. To be fair, I read it at 13, probably not a great age to read it. There are some themes and some
scenes in this book
that I won't talk about in depth here, but they may not be appropriate for a young kid. My other 2 books are a little bit less
grotesque,
and that's going to be The Stand and 11/22/63. These books, they're pretty great. They're 2 of my favorite Stephen King books. My favorite goes to 11/22/63, but The Stand is pretty darn close. Now, The Stand is about a flu that kills like 98% of America, and it's about the 2% that's left. That's the premise with it. It's got some great characters. It features a really cool good versus evil battle. It's just a blast to read. It's a really long book, though. All 3 of these books are well over 1,000 pages, so keep that in mind. Lastly, of course, in this subsection of King's works is 11/22/63. This book is amazing. It's massive. English teacher travels back in time to stop the Kennedy assassination. That sounds like an awesome premise in itself, and the execution is even better. It clashes a lot of genres together: romance, science fiction, historical fiction. It mixes all of those aspects in a really interesting way. It features some of Stephen King's best characters, some of his best moments, and King put so much research into recreating the 1963 landscape. It's just amazing. It's one of his masterworks for sure, and it's my favorite book of his. So check it out. I also want to recommend a really simple good versus evil, and that's going to be Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot is a really simple vampires versus humans story. It's a classic. It's one of Stephen King's better early novels, and I absolutely recommend it. I haven't heard of a person that's been super disappointed in this book. So check out Salem's Lot if you're looking for a vampire versus heroes story. It's great. Now, if you're looking to jump into something a bit more massive, a bit more epic, a bit more of a sweeping tale, I can recommend checking out the Dark Tower books. Now, I want to give a quick disclaimer here. I have only read the first 2.5 Dark Tower books. Now, that's not because I don't like the books. I actually really enjoyed the second book in the series. The first book I found was a little bit slow. If you're looking for a sweeping, epic fantasy story that's written by Stephen King, check out the Dark Tower books. At least try to give the first couple a try and see if they tickle your fancy. So, some honorable mentions that I just want to briefly mention here. Cujo. That's a great book. It was pretty heartbreaking, and it'll probably affect you. And I also really enjoyed Christine. Christine is a book about a haunted car. The way Stephen King described it, it's a love triangle. It's great. I highly recommend it. Another book that I want to mention here that's great if you're looking for a psychological and supernatural thriller horror book, it's The Shining. The Shining's great. It's a classic. It was made into a very well-known film that Stephen King doesn't like for some reason. The book is great. I'm currently rereading this. We're doing a group read on Caravan. Check out the link in the description if you want to join in on that. It's not too late. Hopefully this was helpful. I've been getting a lot of comments on my recent videos asking about King's works. Whether you like his work or not, you got to admit that he's a very well-known and prolific author, and I think he'll be remembered for a very long time. What do you think? Have you guys checked out these books already? Are you planning on it? Did I change your mind on any books? Let me know all your thoughts on that down in the comments. And if you liked this video, hit the like button. And if you want to see more just like it, hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to talking more to you guys about this in the comments, and I will see you all in my next video.